Is it visible?
No, sir.
It will come, I think, shortly.
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So this is perhaps where we stopped last day. That
Yes,
the
sir.
expectation is the best predictor of a random variable in terms of minimizing the mean square error. So we also introduced the concept of variance. So variance is actually equivalent to the moment of inertia in case of mechanical systems. So for a continuous random variable with a density function fx, this is the expression for the mean square value, and this is the expression for the variance, a measure of the dispersion of the random variable about its mean, the spread. All right. So if you have completed writing this part, I'll move on to the next part.
Yes, sir, we wrote it last.
Okay. Now consider a case where we are interested in finding out the expectation of a function of a random variable. So this method of evaluating the expectation of a function of a random variable is also known as the law of the unconscious statistician. Why it is so called? It will be clear to you. Suppose you have a random variable capital X and say gx equal to y, that is a real valued function of x. Then obviously gx is another random variable. Oh, so how would you find out the expectation of gx? Because gx is another random variable, one possible answer from your end may be that, well, because gx is another random variable, we have to first find out the density function of gx. All right, from a knowledge of the density function of x, we have to first find out the density function of gx. So once the density function of gx is obtained, or if it is a discrete random variable, if a knowledge of the probability mass function of gx is obtained, then you can easily find out the expectation using the standard formula for expectation. But you need not be, uh, I mean, you have to take the pain of finding out the density function of gx. Without even finding out the density function of gx, you can find out its expectation. All right. So that detailed analysis is not required. It can be shown that if x is a discrete random variable, then expectation of gx will be given by summation over I equal to 1 to m gxi pi, or gxi wxi, same thing. And if x is a continuous random variable, then expectation of gx will be given by that expression. So same nature of expression, only in place of x, if you substitute gx or gxi, that will serve the purpose. So because it's so much easier to first to find out the expectation without finding out the probability mass function or PDF, as the case may be, of y, therefore this is called law of the unconscious statistician, abbreviated as LOTUS. All right. First write it down, then I'll move on to the proof. After the proof, we will consider some specific examples of GX that are very important in probability, in the study of probability.
Sir, done, sir.
So these are the expressions. Now let me first consider the derivation of lotus. I have tried out. If you find that there is some flaw, please let me know. Now, suppose x takes on certain discrete values xl, all right, then this random variable y, it takes on values of gxl, but the values of gxl may not be distinct. For example, if gx is equal to y square and x takes four distinct values plus minus 1 plus minus 2, so there are four values that x can take on, but corresponding to these two values plus 1 and minus 1, gx takes on a value of 1, a single value. So you cannot distinguish from value of gx equal to 1 that it corresponds to two distinct values of x. Similarly, for x equal to plus 2 and x minus 2, gx takes on a value of 4. In any case, suppose yk denotes the distinct values of y, and each yk corresponds to some distinct values of x equal to xl, set of a collection of x. Then probability of y equal to yk, what will that be equal to? It will simply be the sum of the probabilities of x equal to xl. So for each value of k having values of 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., the probability of y equal to yk will be equal to the sum of the corresponding values of x, probabilities of the corresponding values of x. So this summation that I have written here, it simply means summation over all values L for which gxl is equal to yk. Therefore, if I refer to this example, what will that represent equation 1? Probability of y equal to 1 will be probability of x equal to 1 plus probability of x equal to minus 1. And probability of x equal to 4 will be equal to probability of x equal to 2 plus probability of x equal to minus 2. All right. Therefore, the expectation of y, it will be summation over k yk times summation over gxl equal to yk, probability of x equal to xl. So this is simply, we can take yk inside, this is simply a double summation, equation 2. In the example cited here, in this case, what does it mean? Equation 2, expectation of y, it is equal to 1 into probability of y equal to 1, isn't it? Plus 4 into probability of y equal to 4. Sum of these two probabilities. But probability of y equal to 1 is probability of x equal to 1 plus probability of x equal to minus 1. So that one consists of two terms. Similarly, this one consists of two more terms. So that is an illustration of equation 2. So since this last double sum means this one in equation 2. It's just a special way of adding over all discrete values of x represented by this set of values xi. Ultimately, we have expectation of y given by that expression. If that summation is finite, Only if that summation is finite can this expression be valid. Similarly, for a continuous random variable, it can be shown that expectation of y will be simply integration over minus infinity to plus infinity gx fx. If this is absolutely integrable, that means if integration over minus infinity to plus infinity magnitude of gx fx is finite. So I have tried to give a very simple proof. Hmm. Write down. In the study of probability, if you are given a certain function of a random variable x, say gx, then obtaining an expression for the probability density function or probability mass function for the new random variable gx, that is also important, but that has some other application. But if you are interested in finding out the expectation, then it's not required. You can skip that part. After you write down this derivation, I'll cite one illustration to illustrate that this is valid.
So done.
Can you go a bit up?
Set dance.
So this is the expectation.
So can you go up a bit?
Sure.
No, sir,
Need
it's
not
okay.
hurry.
No, sir, I thought I missed something. It's not that case. You can
Okay.
go.
In the example cited, capital K takes on two values. And for each value of capital K, there are two values of small l. So I have proved it for the discrete random variable. In similar manner, you can also show it for continuous random variable.
Yes, set dance.
Don't write this one as less than infinity. So this is a mistake. Expectation y will be given by this integral if that is finite. So don't write here less than infinity. That thing will not be there.
Yes, it does.
Now consider this example. In a certain factory, it's found that the time expressed in hours it takes to locate and repair an electrical breakdown is a random variable capital X, whose probability density function fx is 1 for that interval x 0 to 1, and it's 0 otherwise. So the density function has a constant value over 0 to 1, and that constant value obviously it will be 1, because the area under the density function should be unity. Now it is observed empirically that cost involved in the breakdown of duration capital X, if the breakdown persists for a duration capital X in hours, the cost involved is x cubed. If that be the case, then what is the expected cost of such a breakdown? That means the time taken in hours to overcome this breakdown, to take necessary measures for repairing, etc., that is a random variable x. And the cost involved, the cost incurred, obviously it will be a function of x. It should increase with increase in the value of x. And say it's observed empirically that it's x cubed. So what is the expectation of this new random variable? That is the point. Now, uh, first what I have done, I have obtained an expression for the cumulative distribution function and then the density function of y. Because the density function of x is given, I have obtained the density function of y first. So for the time being, I am setting aside the law of the unconscious statistician and trying to proceed in a straightforward manner. So y is x cubed. For y lying in this range 0 to 1, what will be fy? Because if y is equal to x cube, for x equal to 0 to 1, y should also lie in this range 0 to 1. So fy, which is the cumulative distribution function of the random variable capital Y, is the probability of capital Y less than equal to small y. That means it's the probability of capital X cube less than equal to small y. It means that it is also the probability of capital X less than equal to y to the power 1 by 3, one third. So how will you obtain that? Integration over fx dx. That will give you this probability from 0 to y to the power one third. And fx, you know, we have considered that it's constant. So it's coming out as, I have placed it as 1. So what will be the result of this integration? It will come out as fy equal to y to the power 1 by 3. So that is the cumulative distribution function. The density function, its derivative of capital Fy. So it is one third y to the power minus 2 by 3 for this range. Now I have obtained the expectation of y. Expectation of x cube is expectation of y. Using the straightforward expression, it comes out as 1/4. Instead of doing all these things, if I had used the law of the unconscious statistician, I could have straightway obtained it as minus infinity to plus infinity x cube fx. So it is 0 to 1 x cube dx. So it is coming out as 1 by 4. Same result. Both yield same result. So that is an illustration of the law of the unconscious statistician. Write down. In this process, I have also illustrated how, given a certain density function of a random variable x and a knowledge of the function relating y and x, you can find out the density function of y. So that has also been illustrated. It was a simple one because the density function of x was a uniform density function, which it remains constant over 0 to 1. It will be complicated if you move on to other density function, other natures of density functions. In the heading of the next topic, don't write higher order moments. Simply write moments of random variables. Moments of random variables. There is no doubt that we will consider higher order moments, but I want to start from the basic definition of moment of a random variable. So that's why don't write it as higher order, simply moments of random variable.
Yes, that runs.
Now let gx be equal to x to the power k, where k is a non-negative integer. Then expectation of x to the power k, this is called the kth order moment of the random variable. So if x is a discrete random variable abbreviated as drv, then expectation of x to the power k from the Lotus law of the unconscious statistician, it will be summation over I equal to 1 to m xi to the power k pi, or summation over I equal to 1 to m xi to the power k w with argument xi. All right. If it is a continuous random variable, then again, from the law of the unconscious statistician, the kth order moment, which is the expectation of x to the power k, will be given by this expression. And this moment, in each case, the moment will exist only if that one is finite for discrete random variable and this integral is finite for continuous random variable. What will be the, I have pointed out that k is a non-negative integer. It means that other than positive integral values, k can also have a value of 0. So what will be the 0th moment of any random variable? Say a continuous random variable. What will be the 0th moment? It is simply the area under the density function. And in case of discrete random variable, the 0th moment will simply be the sum of all the values taken up by the probability mass functions. All right. Each of them will be unity because area under the density function, it is 1, and sum of all the possible values of the probability mass function, that is also 1. So that is the 0th moment. What will be the first moment? Obviously, expectation of x. That will be the first moment. The second moment will be the mean square value. Substitute k equal to 2, you will get the mean square value. So usually the up to second moment is very important. In some cases, third and fourth moments, they are also important. So this mean square value gives the power in the random variable. Power in the random variable, capital X. One interesting point that I may just mention regarding the moments. I don't know whether I have written it down here or not. Probably not. I'll point out that.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Just have a look at this expression. Listen carefully. This expression for the kth moment. Now suppose fx is an even function. Fx can never be odd function, that you have realized or not. Fx, it can never be an odd function because fx can never take on negative values, isn't it?
Yes.
At most, it can be in certain cases be an even function. So if fx is an even function, then I am trying to point out one thing. What can you comment about the symmetry, even function or odd function symmetry of x to the power k? So fx is even function. Under that condition, I am trying to point out what will be the nature of the symmetry property of x to the power k. Say for k equal to 1. For k equal to 1, you have simply x there. So what is the nature?
So it will be odd.
It will be an odd function. So if fx is even, x into fx will be an odd function. So what will be the expectation? The first moment, x is odd symmetric, fx is even symmetric. So the product is odd symmetric. So I mean, integration from minus infinity to plus infinity, it will be 0. So if fx is even and if you consider k equal to 1, the expectation of x under such a condition will be 0. Consider higher order terms, higher order moments. What will happen in the case of k equal to 2? That means the mean square value. If fx is even, given fx is even, x square is an even function, isn't it? So x square into fx will be an even function. You are integrating an even function over minus infinity to plus infinity. So that will be equal to 2 into integration of the same from 0 to 2, 0 to plus infinity, sorry, from 0 to plus infinity. Do you get my point?
Yes, sir.
Now consider x cubed. What is the nature of x cubed? K equal to 3.
So it will be odd.
Odd.
It will be an odd symmetric function. So x cube fx, this is an odd function if fx is even. So again, its integral, its integration over minus infinity to plus infinity, that will be 0. So expectation of x cube will be 0 if fx is even. In this way, can you generalize now?
Yes,
For
sir. 0 for k is k equal to odd.
if k is odd, then what will happen? It will be 0. The kth moment will be 0 if fx is even. If k is even and fx even, then the kth moment will be 2 into the integration should extend from 0 to plus infinity of x to the power k fx. So this is very important to note, and it may help you in certain problem solving, analysis, etc. Now have a look at the so-called centered random variable, x minus expectation of x. Once you have considered a particular random variable x, its expectation becomes a constant. So x minus expectation of x or x minus mu x, it is nothing but the fluctuation of the random variable x about its expectation or mean. So if you consider the kth moment of this centered random variable, that is called the kth central moment of x. And you have seen that the second central moment is the variance. So this is the expression for the kth central moment. That is for the discrete random variable, and this one is for the continuous random variable. Of special interest is the second central moment or variance. So I have already deliberated on variance anyway. Hmm.
Yes, it does.
So these are the expressions. Simply substituting k equal to 2. So variance, uh, there is some problem in arrangement of these sentences, because after variance the standard deviation should come in here. So after this expression, write down that it is the power in the fluctuating component of x. Then write standard deviation of x is such and such. And then write this sentence. So after that expression, this one with a tick and that term, they will be present, that expression. So after this sentence, this expression, write down it is the power in the fluctuating component of x. And then write down this expression for the standard deviation. Then write these two sentences. Standard deviation, which is the positive square root of variance, you know that it's the RMS value of the fluctuating component of x about its mean. Mm. So both of them serve as a measure of the spread or width of the probability density function. There is also a dimensionless counterpart of variance, which is known as coefficient of variation. We introduce the dimensional versions of variance so that by using this dimensionless variation, we can compare between the variance of unlike physical quantities, like physical quantities as well as unlike quantities. A dimensionless number that characterizes dispersion relative to the mean. So it also helps you in comparing among random variables of different units. So that is known as coefficient of variation. I am representing that by Vx, which is actually sigma x by mu x. So simply sigma x often it doesn't give you the proper idea of the spread. So if you just normalize it with respect to the expectation, then that will be, say if you have a voltage, all right. If you say that the voltage, if you consider between two voltage signals, in one case, say the voltage is having a variance of 0.3 volt, all right. In another case, you find that the variance of the voltage is 1 volt, all right. So using these two, I mean comparing the two voltage signal vis-a-vis the spread about its mean, can you compare it? Because the 0.3 volt and 1 volt that I have mentioned, apparently the 1 volt situation is worse. But I have not mentioned anything about the expectation. It may happen that whatever you are observing in case of the 1 volt signal, 1 volt variance signal, maybe the expectation is 100 volts. And in case of 0.3 volt signal, maybe it's, what should I say? It's the expectation is 0.1 volt. All right. So you cannot compare without taking into consideration the expectation also. So that's why these dimensionless varieties, they are useful.
Sir, but it's not defined for mu x equal to 0.
That is true. That is obviously true. It's not defined for mu x equal to 0. It's not defined. I should have stated that. Right. Now, owing to inherent, I'll try to point out the application area so you'll understand. And in those cases, there is obviously no chance of mu x equal to 0. Now, what I am trying to, the example that I have cited here, if you have completed writing down that one, I'll proceed. Now, due to inherent variability, that means manufacturing tolerance and scaling inaccuracies, say in a certain industry, measuring tapes are being manufactured and they have a sigma value, standard deviation of 0.03 feet for a 3 feet tape measure. For a 3 feet tape measure, say the variance is, standard deviation is 0.03 feet. So what is the reasonable, question is what is the reasonable estimate of the standard deviation associated with 3-year tape measures made by the same manufacturer? So it is reasonable to expect that the sources of inaccuracies in the both cases, they are same. If that be the case, then we may assume that the coefficient of variation sigma x by mu x, this is constant, whatever may be the tape size that are made. The tape size may be 3 feet uh, or 3 yard or 3 meters, whatever it may be. If they are manufactured by the same machine or same set of machines, then it's reasonable to assume that the coefficient of variation in all these cases will be same. Therefore, the coefficient of variation from the given data, that is 0.03 feet for a 3-feet tape measure, it comes out as 0.01. Therefore, uh, the standard deviation for a 3-year tape measure it's zero point 0.01 into 9, 0.09 feet. So coefficient of variation is standard deviation by expectation. All right, that's how we place it. If I considered variance, the dimensions won't match. Sigma x square cannot be divided by mu x to get a dimensionless quantity. So in coefficient of variance, standard deviation by mu x, that is the coefficient of variance. So standard deviation for a 3-year tape measure is now, it is expected as 0.09 feet. Therefore, the example shows the fact that Vx is often used as a measure of quality for products of different sizes or different weights. As a matter of fact, in concrete industry, the quality in terms of concrete strength that is specified by a coefficient of variation. So which is a constant for all mean strengths. So when we say here, let me point out, when we say here that we are measuring a 3-feet tape, it means that the mean value of the tapes that is 3 feet. When we say that we are measuring a 3-year tape, it means that the expected value of the tape that is 3-year. All right. এটা লেখা হয়ে গেছে Vx equal to sigma x by mu x.
Yes.
Then you write down this example. Given this application area, mu x obviously it cannot take on 0 value.
Yes, sir. Done. Yes, sir.
Just give 1 minute.
All right, you proceed. I'm not in a hurry. Now consider a certain property of variance that will also be useful in many applications. Say we have a random variable x and consider a new random variable ax plus b, where a and b, these are constants. How will the variance of ax plus b, the new random variable, be related to the variance of x? That is the question that has to be answered. So recall that variance is mean square value minus square of the mean value. Ax plus b is the new random variable. So you square it and take the expectation, that is the mean square value, minus the mean value of ax plus c is expectation of ax plus b. Mean value of ax plus b is the expectation of ax plus b. That squared. So that is the very common expression for variance. Now, what is the expression for the expectation of ax plus b? Expectation of ax plus b is obviously a into expectation of x, that means a mu x plus expectation of b. B is a constant, so it's simply a mu x plus b. Mean square value of ax plus b, it's expectation of ax plus b whole squared. If you break up this squared term, you will have a square x square plus twice ab x plus b squared. So if you operate on it by this expectation operator, expectation of a square x squared plus expectation of b squared plus twice ab expectation of x. A square is a constant that can be taken out. A square into mean square value of x plus b square is a constant. Its expectation will be b squared plus twice ab expectation of x is mu x. Now you have to square this one and subtract it from this mean square value. to get the variance of ax plus b. What will that result in? Mu x means expectation of x. So if you square this term and subtract it from this mean square value expression obtained, I have done that here. So that is supposed to give you the variance of ax plus b. These two b squared terms, they cancel out. Then twice ab mu x, those two terms cancel out. So what remains is simply a square expectation of x squared minus a square mu x squared. So it is a squared, you have taken x squared common, a squared times the mean square value of x minus the square of the mean value of x. So it is simply a square variance of x. So just see here that this offset term, the constant b, it has no effect on the variance. It has influence on the expectation, but it has no effect on the variance. That's because we are considering the centered random variable. And in the process, the effect of b has been, nullified. Variance of ax, straightway from here, it was not necessary to use this expression. Straightway from here, we could write that variance of ax is simply a square into variance of x. But anyway, I have traveled along a different path to show that variance of ax is a square sigma x squared. So whether b is 0 or whether b is 1, whatever may be the value of b, it doesn't matter so far as variance is concerned. Now if you consider a random variable capital X, say with an expectation mu and variance sigma squared, then the centered random variable x minus mu, it has zero mean and the variance is sigma squared. A random variable x minus mu by sigma, all right, that random variable has zero mean and unit variance, and this therefore it's known as a normalized random variable. There are cases where you have to go for a normalized random variable. Now, besides this variance, some of the higher order central moments, they also find use sometimes. Not as frequently as variance, but they do find some application. What are those? Can you name them? The third central moment, this is known as skewness, and it is a measure of the symmetry of the probability density function about the mean. The fourth central moment, it is called kurtosis. So this is actually a measure of how picky the PDF is near its mean. So a measure of the symmetry and a measure of the pickiness. So I'll stop today.
Sir, what's the benefit of normalizing a random variable?
That you will understand when you consider that Gaussian distribution. There are certain distributions whose, from the density function, you cannot integrate and find out the probability values. It's not, you can perform the integration analytically. There you have to do numerical computation and form tables. So if you want to form tables, then obviously those tables will be valid. They will be different for different values of mu and sigma. So that is a hindrance in the way of formulating tables. So there what happens? This normalization is done. Once normalization is done, there can be a single table tabulating the normalized random variable and the corresponding probabilities. So for solving problems on probabilities involving that type of distribution, first you have to do the standardization or normalization. X minus mu by sigma gets a normalized random variable. Then you can have to refer to the table corresponding to that normalized value. You get some probability, etc. So that is one
Okay.
of the important uses of this normalization.
So, sir, basically, what we will do is normalize it to mean zero standard deviation one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is what you are. Okay.
Mm. That's true. Just end with this note that not all random variables have finite moments and or central moments. I have already pointed out what condition has to be satisfied. Magnitude of x to the power k fx integrated over minus infinity to plus infinity, that should be finite.
Sir, for random variables where the third order central moment will be zero, like you stated before for uh,
Hmm.
event
Hmm.
PDF, sir, what can be the inference drawn from that about the symmetry?
Third order central moment is zero.
Yes, sir.
Yes. That I have to think and tell you.
Sir, what I know is skewness positive. If it's positive,
Yes,
it
yes,
is
yes.
skewed.
Positive and
Yes,
negative,
yes.
I'll tell you. The
Mhm.
positive and negative, they are related in this way.
As in it is more skewed to the right, and if it's
Weighted.
negative,
Yes.
That's true. That is the thing. But if third order central moment is zero,
then it is evenly distributed, right, sir? As in it is evenly distributed in both sides.
that means this skewness will be zero.
Hmm. Exactly,
That's
sir.
true. So it's symmetric.
It's symmetric, exactly.
Yes, yes. হয়েছে লেখা এই অবধি?
Yes, sir.
Then I'm logging out. I'm logging off.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So we'll meet
Thank you.
on Saturday.
Thank you, sir.